Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you who are joining us from across the world today on another edition of Pandemic Punditry brought to you by the Content Experience Company. We are honored and delighted to have the founder and CEO of A Billion, a global community on a mission to help 1 billion people create world-changing impact. Vikas is a dedicated supporter of education and conservation initiatives around the world. He has received Credit Suisse's Global Citizenship Award, is a young leader of the Milken Institute, and a charter member of the Indus Entrepreneurs. By using social media for social good, Vikas and his team want to provide ethical and sustainable options to those looking for something to eat, wear, and consume. Welcome to Pandemic Punditry, Vikas.
Thanks, Lavindra, and thank you for that really nice intro. It makes me sound important, which I can assure you I'm not. But but it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show, and it's a pleasure to be here and chat with you today.
I think you're too humble, because I think you're on a great mission to sort of change the world, and we applaud people who do that. So thank you for being on our show and spending some time with us today. So Vikas, what was the sort of the catalyst or the sort of aha moment for you that, transformed you from being a managing director of a hedge fund to starting a company to save the planet?
That is, look, that's a number of different things. I'd say that it was a confluence of factors in my life. That everything from kind of the timing and where I was in my life and my age and where I felt like the rest of my life was going, that would probably played one of the bigger roles, to where we were as a society back in 2015, 16, 17, when I was really thinking about kind of what was next for me in my life. And I'll just touch on those two things, right? Like, in my early 30s, I just felt like, okay, I'm ready. And I had this career. I started working on Wall Street and finance when I was just like a kid. And I had this really great career. I loved my career. I loved the industry. But as I started to think about what was next for me, that I was going to go and create something, for myself, in this industry, I just kept on having all of these feelings that, wow, I had like spent my whole career doing this, and like, is this really what I wanted to do for the rest of my life? Is this really what I wanted to do for the next 30, 40 years? And I was kind of just coming to terms with that and thinking through that. And, and it's just so happened that the timing, like in 2015, 16, we just started to see how divisive social media had become, right? Like social media was this extraordinary idea, this idea that people had, and in early 2000s, that they're going to connect all of the world's people. People are going to build the internet. The internet's going to go everywhere, and then they're going to build these networks and these platforms, and everybody's going to be connected. But what we ended up was, with these platforms also causing a lot of divisiveness in society, causing a lot of violence, causing a lot of misinformation going around, and I just felt like there was something missing. I felt like there was an opportunity to create something that was based around values, or more value-based. And I felt like at the same time, outside of my professional career, I had spent a lot of my life dealing with issues around sustainability, specifically around animal welfare. And I just felt like there was an opportunity, and there was, at least from my perspective, there was really an opportunity to build something better that brought people together, but then also created mindfulness that allowed people to express themselves, but also do good in society. And, once I kind of started thinking like that, I couldn't stop. So that was 2017. That was right after the US elections. Donald Trump had just gotten elected, thanks to social media. And I just felt like that was the right time. And so I had my birthday in January of 2017 in January, and basically, a week later resigned, went in my boss's office and resigned, and then kind of embarked on creating A Billion.
Wow. So just for the benefit of some of the audience members who may not be as familiar with Billion as maybe some of us are, how would you describe that, and would you recommend that everybody on the planet download the app and become a part of become a member and be part of the community? What is A Billion?
So it's a fun. A lot of people describe us as if Instagram and Yelp hooked up and had a vegan baby. And we're very much like that. Like we're a social media platform. We're a platform where people are exchanging, creating posts, creating content. People are looking at stuff. They're getting an inside view on other people's lives. In our particular case, that insider's view is really about the things that people are doing every single day in terms of how they're consuming, how they're living their lives, right? So the places they're going to, what they're eating, what they're buying, because ultimately our choices as a consumer play such an important part in the sustainability of the world. So, it's that sort of insider's view, but then we take all of that data and what we do is we put it all on a map, and we put it all basically in a way, in a format where people can search and they can find things. So, if you're traveling to San Francisco, or you're just, you're in your city, wherever you live, you can use our app to then find great sustainable options. That might be food at restaurants, that might be food from the store, and that might be, of course, other kinds of consumer products that you use on a daily basis in your lives. So it's really a little bit of a finder and a search engine for sustainability, and a little bit of a sort of a social media experience brought together.
So just so that the modalities are clear, so anybody can sign up, I assume, anywhere in the world for a billion.
Anyone in the world. If you've got an iPhone or you've got an Android, you can pretty much use our app anywhere on the planet. We've got users and content now today in about 135 countries.
Okay, so you download this app, and and do you have so there you have some criteria? Obviously, you're looking for reviews of planet friendly, cruelty free sort of products, right? So the vegan food, plant based food, cosmetics, clothing, that kind of thing. And then so what do the users do? It's free sign up. They sort of create an Insta story or write a review, and then those reviews are verified by you. And then there's a interesting incentive that you provide. If you could just talk about a little bit about that. What would that?
I mean, it's a small incentive, but I think it really adds up to something big. So as a community, since we first got started, it's been about 3 years. We've donated close to about $600,000 US dollars. And those donations have all been to some amazing organizations that are on the front lines of things like animal welfare, animal rescue, environmental conservation, deforestation, marine life conservation. We support. If you've seen Seaspiracy, we support.
I was about to say Sea Shepherd is one of your.
Sea Shepherd has been one of our partners for I'd say about 2 years now. And so we partner with these amazing organizations, and what we're trying to do is really connect this idea of creating impact back to people's daily habits and rituals. So you eat food every day, you eat food hopefully a bunch of times, but there's people around the world who don't even have one square meal a day. So through the United Nations World Food Program, if you go and you eat something vegan today in New Delhi, and that dish might only cost you 40 rupees or 50 rupees, it might cost you less than $1. But if you just take a photo of it and you share it in the community and it's vegan, 100% plant-based, we'll put $1 in your piggy bank, $1 US, 70 rupees. We'll put $1 in your piggy bank, which you can then use to donate to Sea Shepherd. So it's really this idea that, hey, these choices that we're making every single day really can add up to meaningful impact. And it's not just the impact that you're making by making that choice, but us as a company and as a tech company really stepping up and reinforcing that with creating impact elsewhere in the world. And that's really what we're trying to do, is really bring this whole community together, people around the world, creating impact for each other.
And this would apply to, like, say, a shampoo that you use, or a soap that's vegan, or vegan leather sort of outfit that you would buy, or something like that. It's pretty much anything that's cruelty-free. Okay.
Yeah, it's really anything that's sustainable and cruelty-free.
And there's a caveat that you sort of verify or make sure, right? What's that verification process involved? Is that something your team does, or how is it verified?
We want to make sure that an item exists. If we're going to put it on a map, if we're going to show it to other people who are using the app to find things. So of course we independently verify information, and and we've gotten good enough to we've gotten a good enough to now do it a lot more programmatically behind the scenes. And we still have, we have an army of interns and folks who are, every time content is, we have thousands and thousands of posts now that are being posted every single day on the platform. And, it's actually a pretty big endeavor to do all of that content moderation. But it's an important part of making sure that this community is a trusted community, right? That people feel like they're getting verified information, correct information. Because this particular choice that people make, and it's not about vegans and vegetarians only, but anyone who's, especially for the vegans and vegetarians, you really need to make sure that something is vegan and vegetarian. But for anybody who's looking to really reduce their meat consumption, right, they're coming to us, and ultimately that's what they're looking for, right? They're looking for sort of a trusted partner that's going to help them in that journey.
I read an interesting and almost staggering statistic about you that 65% of your members are actually flexitarians and omnivores. So they are not vegans or plant-based people to begin with. That's an amazing sort of number.
Yeah, it is amazing, and it's really crazy. It's like when I built this, didn't really know when that would happen, but 2-3 years in, it's been great to see that. Obviously, we have an amazing core group of very, very passionate people who are already like super clued in to why this matters. They're already made these choices in their lifestyle. People like myself. But it's been great to see how many people are coming on board now today who are just looking to make that reduction, right? And maybe they'll get there. Maybe they'll get all the way there, right? And they'll become vegan one day, or they'll become vegetarian one day. But we need to kind of meet them on their own terms, right? And they themselves need to sort of be inspired and influence themselves in that journey. And what we're trying to do is just make it much more easier, much more fun, and really bring that community together. And on other platforms, you see a lot of people attacking each other. You're not vegan enough, or you're not doing something all the way. And we wanted to really remove that stigma and said, hey, look, we want to create a supportive community, and this is why we actually focus on consumer reviews, and people aren't just kind of posting whatever they want, because with a consumer review, at least you can agree to disagree about the taste of something or whatever, but there isn't this element of personal attacking. And so we've been able to build a really inclusive community that welcomes people who are just trying to reduce their meat consumption, whether that's a day a week or 3-4 days a week, or maybe it's just their next meal. And I think that that's really important, because it's changing those hearts and changing those minds that's really going to drive this next generation and the growth of this next generation of the sustainability movement.
So we talked about this a little earlier once. What's your sort of membership like in India, and do you see a lot of people sort of in India sort of coming on board the platform, and would you like to see more?
Of course, we'd like to see more. We'd love to see more. We've tried a little. I can't tell you that. I can't say that we've had a great strategy yet on really tackling India. A lot of our growth globally has been pretty organic. Like our first city globally where we had 25,000 members was actually Buenos Aires. Wow. And it's great. Like we're how most of those people in Buenos Aires are hardcore meat eaters who are starting to think about their health, their diet, their family, their sustainability. They're starting to they're starting to think about these issues and make changes. And that we did a couple of things that really kind of catalyzed that audience, which continues to be one of the most sort of passionate groups on the platform. For India, we just haven't kind of hit our stride yet. So I can't tell you exactly how many members we have in India right now, but it would be in the tens of thousands. But it's not one of our most engaged markets globally, but it's also still in sort of our top 20. When you look at like sort of, it's in our top 20 markets. It's probably around 14 or 15. And so of course, being the second most populated country in the world, and me myself personally being Indian, of course, I think that it should be number one, it should be number two. So hopefully we'll see that happen over
Yeah,
the
hopefully
course
we
of
can
the
help that
next
process a little bit.
next,
So
next few years.
I
Yeah.
think part of it is a sort of awareness thing as well, right? And I think the mission of sort of for every review, you are able to sort of donate $1 to a worthy cause. That should be sort of an incentive for people to sort of use this platform to create as many reviews as possible that are meaningful. So I think that's a really sort of a great incentive. So I'm hoping that people listening and watching will all sort of download the app and start using it. Because I understand that now you've raised $6.8 million thus far. You're a for-profit company, right? But you're donating these substantial amounts of money to organizations, and they're all very worthy causes. So how do you make money to sort of support this thing? I mean, is this coming from the money you're raising, or is this coming from other sources? So if I go to a business that's vegan friendly or is supplying a vegan dish, do they have to eventually pay for that $1, or how does that all work?
Some of them do. They don't
Okay.
have to, but some of them love to. So I think that one of the things that we're really trying to do is create a new kind of business model for how businesses promote themselves, right? And we started by doing it ourselves, right? So we said, okay, instead of advertising, something that we like much more than advertising is creating impact. So I'd rather grow by creating impact than advertise. And the implicit bet there is that people are going to be inspired, that we're going to get the right kinds of members around the world, that we're going to get people who care, that we're going to get people who want to create impact in their lives. We're going to get people who are change makers. And that's really how this company of ours is going to grow responsibly, right? So for us, that's really why we do it is, hey, we want to create impact in the world. We think this is a great way to do it. Along the way, over the next 10 years, we're going to get a lot of companies to think that way, but we need to really grow and we need to lead by example. So that's what we've been doing. What I can tell you is in places like Singapore, the United States, I think Canada too, we've been able to do that. We've been able to work with restaurants. We've been able to work with consumer products brands. And many of these brands, the money that they're paying us, a substantial portion of it or an additional amount on top of it goes towards creating this kind of impact. So they'll pick an organization, they'll pick a partner organization for one of our organizations, and they'll say that, hey, for every time somebody clicks a photo and posts about my company, about my products, I will also additionally donate $1. So then that's $2 that's going to one of our partner organizations. We're actually doing that right now with a company called Tyndall. It's actually a company. The company's name is Next Gen Foods. The name of their product is Tyndall. It's this plant-based chicken. So if it's currently available only in Singapore, but if you have it at any of the restaurants in Singapore, the company will step up, and you post about it on the Abillion app. The company will step up and donate $1 alongside of us. So we're trying to sort of change that model and show businesses and show people that you can create the kind of customer engagement that you want, right? By actually doing good in the world, as opposed to just advertising or paying that to Facebook or whomever. And yeah, it's something that we're really excited about. Of course, we're venture funded, like you mentioned. And I think of us as we have a really long way to go before we can show the world and prove to the world that this is a successful, profitable business model.
And so if there are a lot of business owners listening into our program who are in the the cruelty free space, so if they wanted to participate, so for example, for right now, for them to sort of get on the platform, there is no cost associated with that, or there is a cost associated with that?
No, there's
okay.
no cost, right? Like, I mean, anybody who's listening on the call is of course free to create an account. You can just download the app or go on our website, create an account. You can create an account for your company.
Okay.
And you can get started by posting information about your products, about your brand, and do all of that. And then you can attract a following, and you can effectively find new customers, right? And that all of that is free. We have we have sort of a listings platform, and we've had about 2,000 businesses globally sign up for that. Mm-hmm. And then with that, there are then paid integrations in terms of how you can promote additionally promote your business, and do various things, verify information, engage with users in a more sort of detailed format, send users different things. And so for that, there can be a cost.
So we have audience questions asking here, do you see yourself as a vehicle for brand activism?
Do I see myself, if the question's right, do I see myself
do you see yourself as a billion as a vehicle for brand activism?
Brand activism. Yes. If I'm understanding the question correctly, the answer is absolutely yes. I didn't start this just so we could build like a fun app where people could kind of find things, but I felt like a big part of what was missing from the experience on social media, or rather one of the things that had really been done, and I think we're all familiar with this, is that our data is then taken to make a lot of money, but it doesn't really do anything to move the needle and really create more of the world that we want. And so for us, it was really about how do we take all of this data? So people are posting photos and they're posting reviews, and they're engaging with companies. How do we actually create activism out of this, right? So I grew up as an activist. Even professionally, in my career, I was an activist. But what I found was that if we could apply some technology, if we could build a technology company that then took all of this information that people were posting and sent that back out into the business world, sent that to restaurants, sent that to consumer products brands, we could actually influence them, right? So if we could influence steakhouses in New York City to add plant-based options to their menus, if we can influence Japanese restaurants in Tokyo and around the world, right, to add more plants to their menu, right? That would be a huge win from a sustainability standpoint. So our mission and one of our core parts of our mission is to deliver every single review back to the business owners, to the managers of those businesses. Sometimes they're PR companies. We do that for the consumer products brands. We do that for all of the restaurants. And globally, every year, we're sending millions and millions of emails with photos and pictures. And one of the cool things that we do that's really unique is we send. So if you're talking about a Japanese restaurant, let's say here in Singapore, we're going to be sending that restaurant all the best rated vegan options, plant-based options from all of its competition. So other Japanese restaurants in Singapore, around the world, to really just try to show them that, hey, there's this movement brewing, that, hey, we're going to make it easy for you. We're going to show you what people really like. We're going to show you the best of what people like in your category, in your cuisine, in your consumer products category. And, we're going to show you photos and we're going to show you information, and then you can even engage with these customers and really like make them your customers. So that's been a really integral part of, how we've designed the platform. And if you use the platform for 5 minutes and go and try to find something or post something, you'll see that there's a lot of sort of built-in activism into the app.
Okay. So I think the follow-up question was, since your answer is yes, do you work with brands to help them build movements? And I think you used the word movement there just now in your answer for the Japanese restaurant. So you see that as a part of your core mission as well, to
Absolutely
help them build movements. Okay. So because you've said this, I think you've stated that the data that you collect, right, so that A Billion holds the world's most valuable and unique customer data set for sustainability, right? And as members sort of post reviews and do likes and dislikes and comment, that this data grows, and you plan to, I think, through data@abillion.com to sort of make this data sort of more useful and valuable. Is that a part of sort of your I'm assuming that you're doing that for some fee, I'm assuming, or is that a free service for these brands and movements?
Yeah, you can download all of our reports from data.abillion.com or subscribe to the email list through the site. That's all completely free. We're not in the business of selling data.
Okay.
And I don't think that we will be in the business of selling data. It's not about selling data. It's about using data to build the kind of business that we want, right? So what we're doing is we are listening. We are seeing what would be useful to the investment industry, what would be useful to policymakers, what would be useful to governments, places like Singapore, right, the government here is doing a lot of investment into sustainability and sustainable businesses, right? what would be useful for companies in Argentina that are making products to help them get onto the global stage, right? So these are just a few different ideas, right? But what we do is we've built lots of interesting data dashboards. Every month, we're publishing a new sort of research report that our data science team actually prepares. And we're growing our mailing list, and we're growing sort of subscriptions there, where we're getting a lot of feedback. So actually, this month, we're just about to launch our partnership with Enterprise Singapore, which is sort of the big government entity here, one of the big government agencies here in Singapore, that's really like trying to help grow sort of the business community here. And we're launching sort of the first ever sort of report that's been co-authored between us and Enterprise Singapore, that's really talking about a lot of the issues and topics from our platform. So really as they relate to Singapore. So like I'm really excited to see that initiative grow for us. Again, it's all about using data for social good. And a big part of that is just, in a way, having that data be open source. So people can come to us, they can request information. Obviously, we have to be limited in what we can share, because we're talking about user sensitive information and data. So we never can cross the line. We never will cross the line from that perspective. But it's really amazing what you can spot in terms of trends, what people are saying, consumer trends, what you can pick up from what people are saying in their posts, and how that then can be used to create an investment case. And I said, wow, this is an industry that's exploding. Or understanding, like within dairy alternatives, you've got 30 or 40 different kinds of dairy alternatives for a specific market, what might be trending, where the investment should flow, right? Based on sort of the consumer trends that you're seeing. So it's really about empowering all the various stakeholders in this ecosystem.
So it's interesting. I'm listening to you, Vikas, and I'm thinking, okay, so this is sort of an interesting opportunity for people who are sort of passionate about sustainability, about saving the planet, and about consuming and wearing and eating things correctly, right? And so if you're so concerned about that, and you want more businesses to support that, right, and to create more investment and create more options, and for both those of you who are passionate about it and people that should be passionate about it, that is pretty much everybody else, the flexitarians and the omnivores who need to sort of come and join the movement because the planet is in serious danger. This is an opportunity, so that if you sort of start doing this, and you start using a billion and making those reviews and commenting and engaging and building that community, the flip side of that is that there is this open source pool of data that you're creating. You're also obviously doing good. You're adding dollars into your donation wallet, which you can then apply against some really good causes. But at the same time, that data is helping sort of businesses who want to sort of get in and sort of validate maybe a hunch about where this market is, and get in with some knowledge about here. And this is the area to go. This is the kind of dairy alternative that they need to do, or whatever. So those investments can be made with a lot of data to back them up, which is sort of one of the big question marks that businesses have. Should I get in there, and what is the market, and how big is the size of the market? I know that in India we get this question all the time from brands who want to sort of come into India, but they have all kinds of misconceptions about the market here. They think it's primarily a vegetarian market, and there is no market for meat alternatives, which is incorrect, right? So there's so many sort of misconceptions that are sort of cultural, but there's also no data to say, no, that's actually not true. There is demand for X, Y, and Z, right? Because there's no surveys that are happening. But if you're a consumer and you're using a billion, then Vikas can and a billion can create this data and help validate that case. And then businesses obviously get recognition, and they can do so for free. And then they can also join the cause, as you're saying, by sort of donating some of their advertising dollars to your cause to sort of supplement these reviews that are happening. Did I sum that up accurately?
Yeah, it sounds it's definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot of stuff, isn't it? Yeah, it's like I don't like generalizing, right? I mean, India is such a big place. And only 25% of Indians are vegetarian, right? So like, while that's a lot of people, it still means that 3/4 of the population of India is non-veg. And you've got you probably got the largest population of people with diabetes in the
Yes.
world. You've got heart disease, you've got chronic blood pressure. You got all these things that are coming all from our reliance on on animals and animal proteins and animal fats, right? And so better alternatives are coming that are ultimately just going to help people live more healthy. I can't tell you now. Again, it's hard. You shouldn't generalize, because some of the alternatives that are coming are really not very healthy. Some of them are. So again, it's always a good thing not to generalize, I find. And just the one thing that I will say in terms of generalizing is that there's massive opportunity in this space. Because people care, people care about their families, they care about their longevity, they care about their health. We have massive health epidemics happening around the world. Anything that we can do to boost our immunity, to keep us strong. And that's really what this is all about, right? It also then extends, because food is something that we do every single day of our lives. And it's something we do so many times a day, that by making a small change there, or committing to making a small change there, you can make yourself feel so good, because every single time you then make that choice, and you're making a food choice so many times a day, you're acting on some value or some principle. And that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get people clued in on that, to make them feel really great. Because once you start doing that, then you feel good about yourself. Like you think about all of the moments that you're creating throughout the day where you can feel proud that, hey, I made a choice. I made a choice based on my values. And so that's really what we're all about. That's what we're trying to build and create and engender. For folks, we think that there's a lot of mindless scrolling happening on the internet. And what we're trying to do is change that habit, change that mindless scrolling into something that's very mindful and filled with joy and purpose. And I'd say that's how I describe what we're doing.
Brilliant. I almost want to end on that note, because you put a beautiful sort of a period mark to that story there just now. Just so that the audience is listening, and maybe there's a hedge fund manager somewhere, or somebody else, right, who's in a high powered career like you were, and they've sort of the pandemic sort of shifted their core a little bit to say, hey, this is sort of a warning sign, or something that has sort of you've been faced with your own mortality. I think lots of people sort of
Sure.
have a reckoning, right?
Sure.
And so if they're going through that process, and they're thinking of making a significant career move, and changing the way they've operated in the past, what are some of the sort of life lessons, or things that you can pass on to somebody who's sort of where you were in 2017, 2016, right? And what have you learned from this sort of journey, and what would you recommend people do if they are at such a juncture similar to what you were at?
Yeah, I think that connecting your values with your life's work, if you may already have that for the folks out on the phone, but if that's something that you feel is missing, I really felt like in my life, I felt like that was something that was missing, because I had this whole other side of my life, the side of my life that when I went out and I went out with my friends to dinner and whatnot, I never talked about my work, and I talked about all the things that I was really proud of, the other things that I was involved with. Some of the things you mentioned, Lavindra, at the beginning of the call, like minority education, animal welfare, the environment, these kinds of things. And what I did was I found a way to get those passions that I had, and get them connected into my work. And if you feel like that might be missing in your life, and you want that, what I can say is that you will never have a regret about trying to do that. And if you manage to pull it off, you're not, it's almost gonna feel like you're not working. It's gonna feel like it's gonna feel like you're working on something you care about so deeply, so much, that the bad days are just gonna be things that you need to figure out and solve. They're not gonna be like you being just stuck in the ground, which is often how I felt about a lot of different things. Right now, I just feel like I just need to get through it. I need to get things. I need to get things moving. I need to solve things because it's just too important. Right, and it's like I finally am working on something that I really want my life's sort of work to be part of, right? Like my legacy to be part of. And I never really felt like I wanted that before in my former career. So I'd say that that's important. And then the other thing is, I remember visiting the Stanford campus in Palo Alto a couple of years back, and at the business school there, they have like a plaque in the ground, and it's like Phil Knight, who's the founder of Nike, is a big supporter of Stanford Business School. And I'm not going to get this quote perfect, but it's a quote that I really love, right? And it's the typical the fork in the road quote that, you know, one day you're going to get to this fork in the road in your career, and you can choose you can choose the path of least resistance. You can choose this path, and you're going to have a great life. Like, you're on your way, right? If you're standing here at Stanford Business School, chances are, if you choose that path, the clear path, you're going to have a great life. Don't worry about it. It's a totally great decision. And then there's this alternative path. There's this path into the unknown, this path that seems like a dream, seems like unlikely, you know, and he says, you know, I can't tell you which one's going to work, and I can't tell you which ones you're going to be more successful on, but I can definitely tell you which one's more fun. And that, you know, I would say that I don't know why that quote it always feels relevant. I can tell you in the last 3 or 4 years, I've had more serendipitous moments in my life than I ever have before. And maybe it's just because it means so much more because it's mine, right? But I think that whenever it's really confusing and there's, you know, something just happens, something comes along and we figure it out. And I think that's you know, that quote sums that up. I mean, you know, I just think that there's so much value in people creating companies that are aligned with their values and purpose in life.
Well said. Well said. So on that note, Vikas, I think we'll wrap up. Excellent sort of 45 minutes with us. Thank you so much for taking time off from your mission to sort of save the world, one recommendation or review at a time. This is amazing. We hope that we can do more here in India for you to get more people to download A Billion and start getting those reviews in. And I'm also encouraging any vegan businesses. I've actually shared this conversation with a number of vegan business platforms that are on WhatsApp, that they should come on board. And now that you've confirmed that, you know, it's absolutely free for them to do so, I think they should do that and encourage other vegans to sort of support them through that platform. And so we can hopefully move up on the rankings at A Billion. So I know businesses that are waiting to enter the plant-based space in India love the extra data that you're collecting. So thank you for making that data sort of freely available, and also
Absolutely.
respecting the privacy concerns and the data integrity of the people that are doing those reviews. I think that's a key thing. So thank you so much for such a being such a wonderful guest, as well as for creating such a fabulous company.
Thank you, Lavendra. I really appreciate your time today. And please let us know how we can support you and the movement in India. We definitely want to do a lot more in India. We definitely want to be out there a lot more. Unfortunately, this pandemic has kind of seized up travel for a lot of people, but it's definitely a big part of, you know, India has such a critical role to play.
Yes.
You know, in all of this, considering its impact on the world and its rainforests and its agriculture and its topography and its people. Such a big role to play. So really excited to work with you on that. Thank you.
Yeah, let's figure out ways to do that better. So thank you so much, Vikas, and all the very best for everything that you're doing. Let us know when we can help as well.
Thank you. Same to you.
Take care. Thanks.